This is a Clouds Weather Alert.
Good late Tuesday, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with a tornado warning for southeastern Marion County. Goes all the way out to 12:45 a.m. as there is radar indicated rotation, not gate to gate in nature, but I know we've had some tornadic activity in this general vicinity here looking back towards Saturday, and it's a little bit harder to get a lower level look at the rotation to see if something's actually reaching the surface. So the National Weather Service in Jacksonville wisely erring on the side of caution here to issue this tornado warning for areas around Wearsdale. In parts of Marion County around Wearsdale, you do have some rotation in there. We're going to go ahead right now and say some of the velocities. This is looking off the Tampa radar. There is some circulation here right around, looks like County Road 42. And you can kind of see here what's happening, a little bit of that kidney bean shape here. So enough rotation to prompt this tornado warning for southeastern Marion County. Here until about 12:45 a.m. So you want to go ahead and get in that interior room away from windows. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up our tornado warning precautions here. So seek shelter inside that sturdy building. Many of you are already probably in there right now, maybe waking up to this alert on your phone. So what you want to do right now, if you're in that scenario, is get as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and to protect yourself from flying debris, maybe put on a bicycle helmet. At least think about that. I know we had that tornado with 110-mile-an-hour winds there on Saturday morning toward Ocala. Now this here is showing radar indicated rotation. There's no way of knowing what type of winds or if even any tornadic winds are reaching the surface here in this area. But we do have this rotation here in southern Marion County, so there is a possible tornado threat. No debris signature, but if we had a debris signature, that would mean we had a tornadic situation that was more damaging than what I would expect for this type of scenario, because that means it's a stronger tornado with the debris having to get up to 8,700 feet or so. But again, possible tornado in southeastern Marion County. It's important to get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here in this area, as we have a possible tornadic circulation here impacting areas around Wearsdale here in southeastern Marion County. We'll look at some of our other velocity products that's been there right around the community of Wearsdale in the far southern part of our viewing area. But we want you to take those tornado precautions here. I know nothing gate to gate, but enough to support a warning here that goes out to 12:45 this morning. This warning does include areas around Moss Bluff, which this will be near at about midnight, and then Juniper Springs around 12:25. So you want to go ahead and take shelter now if you're in this area. I know that beep you heard actually is a storm that we've been watching toward Marion County here over the last, or not Marion County, I beg your pardon, toward Orange County. Of course, we're watching Marion County right now, but toward Orange County, we've had a storm that's continuously been a sign of something that's just spinning out there that may or may not be reaching the surface here. So let me go ahead and pop up our other mode right now. We'll go ahead and see what we're talking about with that. This is out of our viewing area, but it's a storm that's had a history of some tornadic rotation, at least within the radar algorithms. You can see backing up here, this is the last hour, and you see the more favorable tornadic parameters here showing up as well. This area up here doesn't really have many of those colors showing up here right now in toward our area, but there's enough rotation here that we might have some type of tornado. This is right on the northern edge of the line, and sometimes when you have that little spin there, this was near the villages a moment ago, you have that little spin of something maybe occurring here with little or no advanced warning. So I know Weather Service is down there toward the south didn't issue a warning on this here as we're looking down there toward the Tampa office or the Melbourne office, but the Jacksonville office pulling the trigger here for this potential tornado. Just want to be on the safe side here. You'd hate to have a tornado hit with no warning. I know, unfortunate situation last week. I don't want to harp on that. It's just an odd scenario here where we have the same general area with a similar problem again, and this time there is a tornado warning in play. So again, you see around Wearsdale, you see the greens and the reds coming together on air. You can see here we have the little bit of rotation. So we want you to take those tornado precautions right now in southern and southeastern Marion County. Again, this is some radar indicated rotation. There's not a lot to say right now, to be quite honest, about this, because we don't have necessarily any reports coming in, anything like that. But let's check some of our ZDR products to see if there's some upscale growth. There's a little bit in here, but not a lot. Now, as you're kind of looking downstream here, you see a pretty rural area this will be entering into here as we look ahead in toward the timeline. So that's good news. But right now, it is in an area that is a little more populated near Weirdsdale. If you're hearing my voice right now around Weirdsdale, you need to be in that interior room away from windows right now in southern Marion County. Now, I know if you're watching further to the north, the severe threat really not too extensive here overall toward our viewing area. This is a very small area that has any type of severe weather threat. I'll go ahead and see. I'm talking about for tonight. Now, tomorrow could be a little bit of a different story here, but for tonight, you see really just in this greenish area here is where we have that threat. I mean, I'll pull up the radar once again. At this point, that's the area here that you're watching, that you're tracking things in. You can see these temperatures here warmer to the south, and that warmer air trying to come on in, and we'll have more favorable conditions overall in our viewing area tomorrow, where there's a marginal risk in play for many areas. But right now we have a tornado warning here in southeastern Marion County. Again, a possible tornado around Weirdsdale here. So go ahead and take those tornado precautions here. We have a possible tornado in this area. Let's go ahead and show you what the rotational signature's been over the last little bit. And again, I'm not seeing that much necessarily, but another thing that's interesting to see is a lot of lightning here. We have occasional to sometimes frequent lightning here as we're looking down toward the south, toward Lake County. That's out of our area, but this accent here is trying to clip our area. And where we have that spin right now, just north of the villages in our viewing area, is where we have a possible tornado. So we want folks to take this seriously. Again, take those tornado precautions right now. I'll go ahead and take off our tornado safety tips from the corner, and then we'll take our tornado safety tips here full. We don't have any type of necessarily tornado watch in play, not widespread enough action necessarily for that, but there's a tornado warning in play, and I mean, you could still have power loss, so it still might not be a bad idea to try those devices, but keep in mind, there's some lightning around, and that could kind of, if you're in the immediate threat zone right now, that could kind of counter things, but if you're in southern Putnam, southern Flagler counties, I would go ahead and charge up my devices here for sure, as they're talking about a rotation aloft, but the storm is still pretty supportive of the warning in Marion County, right around Weirdsdale, moving northeast here. So again, seek shelter inside that sturdy building. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here, as we have that radar indicated rotation in southern Marion County right now. The warning goes out all the way to about 12:45. So this is a long fused warning here for parts of our area. Of course, this is our area. We cover 62 counties. We're always on it. There's a tornado warning for one of them at Marion County there. The far southern extent is where we have this polygon right now. But that's in our area, and we're on the air to keep you and your family safe and up to date, and your friends as well, here early on this Wednesday morning. Again, a possible tornado here in Marion County right now. Checking some of the different products here. We're just going between some different things. Let's look at the hourly rainfall estimate here. You can see we've had about an inch to the south, and if you're watching to the north here, let's see around Stark, we've gotten here on the order about 3/4 of an inch of rain over the last 12 hours or so. This is right for tonight. Not really too much here toward the north, but we'll continue to watch. That's tomorrow's threat now, or now it is today, but if you get what I'm saying, the outlook through 8 a.m., that threat will be lower, but after that, we'll be seeing that threat go up toward the north. As they're now saying there's going to be a new tornado warning for a storm outside of our area near Christmas, the community of Christmas here, in toward the Melbourne jurisdiction. They're saying the rotation's increasing there now, and they're going to have to issue a new tornado warning. You can kind of see that rotation there. That storm just doesn't want to give up really out of our viewing area. It's headed up there into some of these areas, probably parts of Aloose still have to end of this new warning here even. So Brevard maybe, just kind of looking at Orange County in there. Quite a few counties might have to be included depending on how they're tracking this directly. It's a little bit tricky with the county borders all coming together there. So that might make it interesting there. Maybe parts of areas toward the north there as well. Of course, Seminole County might have a warning too in Florida, not Georgia, but you see here as we go ahead and check this circulation out, you see that little spin there, and you heard that beep. Let me just go ahead and say this actually did not go with Seminole or Volusia here, but it did go with Brevard and Orange. Again, this is out of our area, but it's a little easier to see here within our rotation tracker. We'll see how they do the polygon. That'll pop up here in just a second. So if you have relatives down there, I know they're probably watching the Orlando stations, and they actually do cover, for what it's worth here, they actually do cover some of those areas as we're looking down toward even Marion County. So they're talking about both storms, but this is an area that's outside of our viewing area here with this storm, this possible tornado north of the community of Wedgefield and near Christmas, east there, near maybe even Bithlow. But you see how they kind of actually trimmed out parts of the counties toward the north here, parts of Seminole, parts of Volusia County. Kind of interesting to see how they did that. But again, in our area, we have a tornado warning. The reason we're on the air right now, Southeastern Marion County. You see that little bend here near Weirsdale? We need you to take those tornado precautions here in our southeasternmost zone of Marion County right now. This is tracking off here toward the northeast at 25. I know these storms have been pretty slow movers, and this is kind of staying with that trend. Let me go back over right now toward our other mode here as they're continuing the warning now. We'll see this polygon update on this end here for this warning as well. At 12:03, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Weirsdale, or they're moving to the northeast now at about 15 miles an hour, so slowing down in how they're tracking this at least right now. So definitely something to watch here early on this Wednesday morning, just past midnight here, and we're in the Weather Center providing you the latest information as we have a possible spin here that could be reaching the surface near Weirsdale. It's moving very slowly, probably closer to East Lake Weir right now, actually, as we're seeing this get near Moss Bluff, actually now closer toward 1210. They're saying in Juniper Springs, 1255, so definitely slowing down some here. Now, for what it's worth, this circulation here, as we kind of look at it, would be kind of going out of our area for a little bit and then maybe coming back in Flagler County. So that's something for our zones in Flagler to watch. In fact, I'm going to go to a different system. We have some different tools that we can use here. I have our analyst computer. It'll take a minute to get set up here, but it's something that we can go between. We have a bunch of different tools. Been going between them all night here in the Weather Center, but I want to pull this one up because it'll be able to be something we can use to kind of give you a storm track based on the actual warning polygon here, so we can kind of warn people and give you guys an idea of when this might be off the coast by here early on this Wednesday morning. Again, a possible tornado in southeastern Marion County. You see that little bend back there within the radar signature, and sometimes they're on the northern edge of the line like that. You can get a possible tornado to reach the surface. So again, moving northeast at 15 miles an hour right now. I just want everybody to be safe out there here early on this Wednesday morning. So we're continuing to watch things very carefully. Just trying to give you guys everything you need here to protect you, your friends, and your family. So this is actually an extremely slow track, 15 miles an hour, because, I mean, this would take a while to get off the coast. I'll go ahead and say you now, I don't have the actual radar up right now on this mode, but I just want to kind of see the track here. This will kind of give you guys an idea of what we're talking about here this morning. This is a 1 hour track, folks. The 1 hour track only gets us up here to maybe State Road 40. So now this could slow down or speed up a little bit different, but that's your 2 hour track theoretically here. This is in 3 hours if it doesn't speed up a little bit, which it very well may. I mean, that's a long time, folks. I mean, that's 4 hours potentially if it were to go this speed here. Potentially just getting off the coast at that point. But we'll see. Hopefully it speeds up. But in Central Florida, they've dealt with tornado warning after tornado warning here tonight. So definitely interesting to see in this situation how things are going so slow here as we continue to watch this warm storm in parts of southeastern Marion County. It's a slow mover, folks. You see the greens and reds coming together. What we're going to do right now is take a break here for a couple minutes, gather more information here in the Weather Center. Rotation right now looks a little broader, but you just never know. It depends on what radar you're looking at it from. I know I have the Moody radar pulled up on another one of our modes here, and it actually looks relatively decent here. Not that far off of what we saw on Saturday morning, actually. So let me go ahead and pull that one up. We're all kind of looking at things here from different heights, but all a little bit aloft. And this is a spin here where you have the winds going away from the radar at Moody Air Force Base and the wind's going toward the radar here, and the tornado could be somewhere right in there. So again, we're looking here northeast of the villages. This is moving northeast here, folks. This possible tornado in our viewing area. You can see how this could go out of our area and then kind of come back in eventually, though, depending on the ultimate track. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how this develops, how this evolves over the next little bit. So I'm going to take a quick break, gather more information, and be back here in about 2.5 minutes.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Back here in the Weather Center at 12:11, the tornado warning does continue. The rotation is a little bit weaker, a little brighter in nature. That's a good trend, but we got to continue to watch these radar trends here. The greens and reds right now don't look like they're together like they were a few minutes ago here around Wearsdale toward the north and east, but keep in mind, we are looking from the Tampa radar. So let me go to the Moody radar. It actually looks a little broader on here, but you never know exactly what's going on here in the lower levels per se. There could still be some type of funnel trying to reach the ground, so still stay in those tornado safe areas right now. As we're looking down here toward parts of Southeastern Marion County, there's a lot of lightning here with this. A robust storm here in toward our southernmost areas right now. Again, we have this moving northeast at 15 miles an hour, so again, a very slow mover. And I said this to you a different way earlier, but I'll go ahead and put a kind of a track on it like this, and you can see here, that's 52 miles from the coast. Hopefully it'll speed up here, and that'll help us some. And it may not stay tornado warned for the duration. We'll just have to wait and see. I know the Melbourne office will kind of be watching it as it gets out, maybe in here somewhere, give or take, as we're looking maybe toward Pearson there in Volusia County. That would be out of our viewing area, actually. Kind of interesting how that works here in some regard, but you kind of see an idea where this is headed, maybe toward Flagler Beach later on. So if you're in Flagler Beach, it's important that you have multiple ways to receive alerts here as we get into overnighters. That's a strong storm advisory per se as we get toward the interlocking area, expired in 16 minutes. This is not so unnecessarily severe characteristics. It just was an enhanced area there within the radar with some winds picking up a little bit higher maybe in the velocities earlier on there. As you see, the rain kind of clear and dark, and areas around here in Bradford County where I'm at, so that's definitely good news. But of course, we're going to have more storms come in here ultimately, as we've talked about here, as the conditions become more favorable for that as we look ahead later in the day here on now what is Wednesday. So again, we have a tornado warning in play. Let me go ahead now and switch back on over to our other mode. You see things look broad in nature, but you just never know what could happen here with this. And then you see out the Tampa radar, this is really tight circulation here as we're looking toward parts of Brevard County near the Space Coast. That warning goes till 12:30. The Melbourne office has been very busy here tonight. And I'm switching to that radar right now. We'll look at both storms from this actually. You can see a little bit of the rotation here as we're looking even toward the north here, not too far from the Volusia Seminole line either. But as you see here toward Marion County, we'll go ahead and continue to watch. It looks a lot weaker on that radar mode, but it may be kind of having trouble getting through some of this rain that's in front of it really here, and getting an idea maybe of some of that interfering with that actually. So we're not able to see as much of the rain because the radar down here, and there's quite a bit between that and the actual storm in Marion County right now. Not having to deal with that maybe as much in some of these other circumstances. But we'll continue to watch the situation. We're looking here high up 9,000 feet or so, 9,000 feet as we get toward this area, as we're trying to see through the spin that's actually reaching the surface here around East Lake Weir there in Marion County. So again, you see what we're talking. There's the topography. As we go ahead and zoom back on out, we have a possible tornado here in Marion County. The warning going to 12:45 here. So you want to get as many walls between you and the outside as possible, as we do have this threat. I know weather service down in Melbourne earlier on there did issue significant weather advisory for this, for potential for some weak brief funnel clouds. But at this point, the weather service in Jacksonville, on the side of Costin here, issuing this tornado warning in parts of Marion County. I know what we had there last week, definitely making for a situation where people are a little on edge here. So in fact, let's go ahead and review that again. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, we talked about it tonight. We talked about it here over the last few days on the different pages, but we'll go ahead and get that ready for you guys here. Once again, we'll show you guys what we're talking about here with the actual tornadic situation that we were dealing with back there on your Saturday morning. I know, having to track that, you can see here the one tornadic area of damage was from Dunellen up through areas there of Marion County where we had max winds to 110 miles an hour, and another area there toward Putnam County that's max winds to 93 miles an hour. We're right there in an area where we're kind of between radars, so not necessarily having tornado warnings in play, not able to see that lowest look at things within the velocity data, but the rotation aloft here can help you one way or the other, and it's just a tricky situation altogether here as we're looking toward these areas. But we'll go back now over onto the radar again, as we do have the situation that's going on here. I will go ahead and pop up once again here the information that you want to know. We're here right now about 12:17 on this Wednesday morning here, and we do have a tornado warning in play. You have that spin here. It looks bright in nature from the Melbourne radar right now, but you still have to just be mindful of what can happen here. Like what we saw back on Saturday morning, you just never know what could be happening in here, and it looks weaker from the Moody side as well, so maybe it is actually weakening here, and that would be some good news, obviously. Let's go ahead and pop up the Moody site here as well. We're not seeing the greens and reds come together like we were earlier, so they may go ahead and want to drop this warning soon, but you never know. You can't always err on the side of caution in these situations here. But it definitely looks weaker and broader in nature right now. Granted, again, I keep having to, unfortunately, preface it with saying that we're not 100% sure what's going on down at the ground level. But now I'm going to look at some other things here. I know if you're watching, you might be watching stuff toward Central Florida. This radar from the terminal Doppler doesn't really give us a look too much at the Marion stuff, but it does show us something that's going on there down here toward parts of Central Florida where there's a spin that's still worth noting here northeast of Christmas. And this warning goes until 12:30 this morning As we now go back to the Melbourne radar here, and you see it's pretty broad in nature on this as well. Let me go ahead and back this up, and I'll show you both storms here. I'll go ahead and watch this load. You can see how it tightened up there. It's now gotten broader in nature. So what I mean by tighter, let me go ahead and back this on up, folks, to the front of this. You can see here, this is 1156. You can see here we had the greens and reds coming together, folks, and that means with those opposing winds, a possible tornado could be down in that area at that point. But since then, we've seen this weakening on off some, so that's good news. Now, I will go up to the north here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this loop. I know this is a radar scan from just moments ago, and then you can see how it had a little bit tighter spin here, moving from the villages on in here. This is 1153. You can see a little bit of the greens and reds coming together here versus right now where it's a little more diffuse in nature. You see we kind of have a little bit of a gap in here, really. So things aren't really necessarily maybe actually tornadic in nature. But again, to stay in that tornado safe area, you got to respect the polygon here. That's a saying by a legendary chief meteorologist in Alabama there, Dame Spann. Gotta always respect that polygon there, because if you're in it for a reason. You need to take those tornado precautions. So again, you see down toward the south. I know this is a pretty potent line, but we're just barely getting our area clipped by the more potent accent right now here tonight. But again, later on Wednesday, we'll have to be watching for accent to be a little more organized in nature, maybe some more severe weather trying to come into the picture. And in fact, let me go ahead now and show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'll go ahead and move away from our radar scope technology, and we'll go ahead and zoom on over right now to this where we have our day 2 outlook here. Take off some things, and you see a whole wide area under this day 2 risk. Pretty much our whole area, even Tallahassee and Albany here, folks. We'll get an update within the next couple of hours for the day 1 risk. I know times there, Z times correlate a little different now with the time change as we moved on over there toward that daylight saving period. But again, gonna continue to be watching things here carefully in the Weather Center as we have a tornado warning in play. We try to stay with these here as we continue to monitor things in the Weather Center. We're at 1221 now. We're at 1221. I know we pretty much had a day where we had equal daylight, equal dark back on Tuesday there. Granted, it's been stormy. Now that could actually be something we'll be watching here in the overall scenario with the times. We're not going to end up maybe having a time change. Of course, you still have 12 hours and 12 hours, but might end up having something like that next year that's been discussed. If you've heard some of the latest news broadcasts, actually, they're working on that in Congress here to change that up a little. We might not have a time change anymore, but that's still something that's being talked about and discussed there at that national level. But as we get back here, again, we have a tornado warning in play as we get here toward areas east of Lake Weir, northeast of Lake Weir, East Lake Weir, here in this area. We're watching a little bit of a spin. You see some lightning trying to stop, but there's not a lot of upscale growth. But again, you just got it on the side of caution here. As we look down toward Lake County now, you see a little bit of weak spin. Then down here to the south, there's still some spin showing up on this mode over Doppler. Sometimes the different color tables can give us a little bit different look at things here. They should be pretty similar though. But again, watching things carefully here. I know we've been bouncing between radars, so this is going to be a little bit interesting here. You kind of have some lost frames, but you can see how we had that little spin, and then ultimately getting that warning issued there. Jacksonville issued it. We didn't end up having a tornado warning for Lake or Sumter. That's the responsibility Lake is of the Melbourne office. Sumter, part of the Tampa Ruskin office's responsibility. But Jacksonville warning to err on the side of caution here as we continue to watch this spin in toward this area. So again, continuing to watch. I'm waiting a word here from the Weather Service on what's going on down here as we go between a bunch of products. I know some of those like Spectrum Width don't see too much. It's just some stuff that helps me as a meteorologist understand exactly what's going on here in toward this area. So again, checking some more information right now. We're at 1223. I just want to see what the Weather Service wants to do here with this situation, with this warning that's in play. So we're going to keep on monitoring it for you here, as we always do when there's a tornado warning in play. I mean, there could be an imminent threat to life and property here. So we have to just continue to monitor things carefully. As we go ahead now, I have another mode of our Doppler radar pulled on up here for you guys. This is going to be the Moody look at things here from a different color table perspective right now. You're going to see what we're talking about down here. Again, this is a very rural area in nature right here as we're looking in Southeastern Marion County, and the greens and red not too tight right now, but just to kind of track this on off, that's the 1 hour track getting you in maybe to Volusia County, and in 2 hours here, maybe starting to move in toward Flagler, and then by the end of the 3rd hour there, closer toward I-95, so maybe about 3 hours or so to get off the coast, depending on the ultimate movement here. You can see that weak rotation in here right now. Again, very rural area, forested type area right now is what we're talking, but again, going to continue to watch things carefully as you do have a tornado warning in play until about 12:45. So for another 21 minutes here, as we continue this coverage, we want to make sure we're with you. We're talking about areas here in Marion County where you might be camping right now. Obviously, got to be really careful in these situations. Go to that designated safe place if there is one to go ahead and seek shelter and be protected from a possible tornado. So we're going to go ahead and look right now. You don't see anything in terms of correlation coefficient, but we're looking 15,000 feet up here in some cases with this. Again, that's the one viewpoint. Other views, Melbourne and Tampa, be a little bit closer, but still something that we have to kind of be watching for. This is the Melbourne Radar, broad in nature right now, but again, we had something that was broad in nature for the most part. It did get tight a little bit back on Saturday, but we ended up having a situation that we had a tornado down for a better part of an hour or so when it was all said and done. So you just got to make sure you're taking those precautions here, and this will eventually be near State Road 40 here in Marion County. Again, we're looking at the outlook for tomorrow on there right now. I'll take that off, but again, we're watching some of the different things. There are 1 hour rainfall estimates from the Tampa radar, so maybe a little over an inch of rain there as we get here south and west of Weirsdale. You see about 1.5 inches of rain according to our Doppler in Tampa. It might not be exact, but you get the idea. And then as you see toward Marion County, they've had quite a bit of rain here. Southern Levy getting closer to 3 inches of rain, so definitely telling of that weather story here this evening. Kind of see that path of that other storm that's really held together from Polk County all the way through Osceola, Orange, and now moving toward Brevard County. And then you can kind of see the path of some other acts in here as well on the board. Just kind of look at things. You can really see the paths of some other areas of tornadic action that we've been tracking. There's that other storm we tried earlier when we were on the air here as well. Now, you see a little bit of something here. There's maybe something trying to develop in our correlation coefficient as I look to see if it's co-located. But again, hard to say here with any type of certainty as we're looking. I know we said we get an update pretty soon on this warning, but they are going to continue it. In fact, it's a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Juniper Springs, moving northeast at 25. So now picked up that speed. So let's give you a new track update here. We'll kind of do that for you guys that just came into our system. So I can kind of change some of our different tools that we have at our disposal here and give you guys an idea of when this may be off the coast. So in about an hour or so, this will probably be near the area of Pearson there in Volusia County. That's out of our area. So that's something where you have to watch those Orlando stations. It's actually, this might be a little bit more well-defined to the south. So let me update that. We're looking really high up on the Moody side on this radar vantage point, but that's an hour. Maybe getting into toward Volusia County for a little bit before we see it maybe entering toward Flagler County there at about 125 or so. And this is the track from that point, maybe getting in near Corona there and not too far away from Flagler Beach. Could end up getting back into Volusia, back out of our area again here, but still stay weather aware. Even in southern Putnam, it's important to stay aware of it, especially southern Flagler. This is a tornado warning storm that will probably be at some point clipping that area here later in the overnight hours. So gotta keep watching. Just got an update in the chat there saying the rotation looks quite a bit weaker, but they're going to continue it. It could still produce. You just never know here. You gotta err on the side of caution, as we know here in the weather world. So it's 12:28 right now. I'm gonna check some more things that we have here We're just going between all of our different radar vantage points here on this Wednesday morning. I know we have other weather we can talk about as well. Let's go ahead and pull up some of the things from our show here. If you didn't watch us here on Tuesday on our update, I know we're going to not have a formal update Thursday, but we're going to be here as we're doing right now, coming on when we need to. And Friday looks like it could be a pretty busy day. It could end up getting more up toward our west here with the worst of the potency with the storms. But let me go ahead and see what we're talking about. This is the day 4 outlook here on Friday. You see Tallahassee, Albany, over even to Ward areas, closer toward the Swanee Valley included. Some of the models are showing things maybe closer Pensacola, South Alabama, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's too early to know for sure. And then next week, folks, we have a thread here that could be even more organized. That's one of the reasons we're keeping that logo red. I mean, that thread on Friday outlook for a slight risk for our area here, and that could end up going up. And then as we look here toward next week, the thread as well, when I say it could go up, could end up going up more outside of our area, but whenever risks like that far out, the chances of it going up in our area are high enough where you got to stay on that guard. And then as you see next week, this is kind of in our general direction eventually, maybe later on today on Wednesday, but I know we're going to have to continue to be tracking things. We're going to have to continue to be tracking things here in the Weather Center. It's going to be a busy period. Hopefully we can kind of get out of this pattern eventually. We needed to rain on. We've gotten that to kind of deal with drought conditions here that we're setting up. But now we're starting to get in a situation where the severe weather is really just something you don't need, and you don't really need to rain all that much here. And you get them both. That's not good, obviously. You just rather have the rain. I mean, you just rather have that rain here. You don't want the lightning either in these situations, because in some spots that can obviously cause some damage. So again, let me go ahead and go off of this for now, though. Continuing to watch things here. Continuing to watch the situation. I know Chief Meteorologist Bill Quinlan there, WCJB in Gainesville, saying the Trail Ridge is probably having an impact on the storm at this point. So definitely could end up having some weakening with this storm here. Looking at the National Weather Service's chat session to get that information as we're continuing this coverage. I know that other warning that we were watching here, folks, it looks like it's 12:30 now. I haven't heard anything new on that. So that might end up going away here. I know we're looking way high up on this one, so you need to go to a different radar for that other storm. We'll go ahead and go back on over to the Melbourne Radar here to see what's happening. I know the Tampa Radar is showing quite a bit of rotation. That might have to get extended, actually. Let's see. It could just be noisy in here, but there's a little bit of something with it that is interesting. You see right near I-95, so it could have something trying to evolve. That could just be inflow, though. Actually, as we're looking at that right there, and then you have our rotation here really far up. You can say it's past the purple there, really, as we get higher up aloft. But when we have that purple, that's really the outer edge of where you want to be looking at circulation at. But again, we're going to be watching this here carefully. On this Wednesday morning. We're in the Weather Center still, and you still have some broad rotation. So let me go ahead now and pop up some other information I have here in our show. We'll go ahead and see that rainfall forecast for the next 7 days, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on here. It might not be a prolific rainfall producer like what we saw last week of 5 inches. Still quite a bit of rain, relatively. You can see on average 3/4 of an inch, give or take. But obviously some localized areas will get quite a bit more if a storm like this one is slow moving. I mean, already getting that rain to fall right now pretty much. And then as you see here over the next 7 days, you can see that severe weather possibility here today. And then tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day, things look a little bit better. But by the time we get in toward that Friday, things ramp up out toward the west. We'll just have to see how things hold together toward our viewing area, and eventually maybe hanging around into Saturday a little with some type of low threat before things clear on out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday as things get warmer. Those lows get warmer, the highs get warmer there. Conditions more humid there and more favorable for maybe a more organized severe weather threat where we have some type of tornado watches in play here from west to east, truly. So we'll watch that for next Wednesday. Again, always important to look at some of the different longer range models here in the Weather Center. So right now we're at 12:33. I think what we're going to do right now is take a quick break here in the coverage. I'm only going to take a 2.5 minute break because I suspect this warning won't get extended here, and then we'll wrap it up. But there's the look at the radar right now. I'll be right back here in just a couple of minutes.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Back here in the Weather Center, it's 12:35 on this Wednesday morning. We still have a tornado warning in play for parts of Marion County right now for about another 9 minutes now as we get to 12:36. I know we've had so many tornado warnings. Just looking here as we can, we had one by Tampa Bay area, Ruskin there, 6:44. That was for Sumter, Pasco, Hernando, at least small portions of those counties. And then since then we had a bunch of warnings. It's by Melbourne, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, just keep counting here. As we look, you can kind of just, understand what we're talking about here in terms of it being an active evening. I mean, it looks like about 7 tornado warnings you see by the Melbourne office there. One by Jacksonville, one by Tampa. So by my count here, unofficial count here, that's 9 tornado warnings that have been issued with this accident. No tornado watch in play. Things have been kind of more on that localized level becoming tornadic. I mean, that's how it can be. Sometimes we're talking about we didn't have the overall widespread risk in play, but again, so active here, getting the activity to really be ramping on up. I know we've had thunderstorm warnings in play as well. And speaking of thunderstorm warnings, we actually had one in Alabama a little while ago as we have some more of this accident. It's an interesting, distinct pattern here as we look out toward the west. You can see some of this accident here in Alabama. This pattern here is going to be something that can provide us with a more widespread marginal risk here on that Wednesday. So I have to continue to watch things carefully here as we'll have more energy to work with here on your Wednesday toward parts of our first coast per se. So we're going to see exactly what's going on right now here as we're watching things in the chat session. Just as at large here with the weather enterprise, you can see here the temperatures core way north, but it's pretty warm for the most part here. I mean, with 50s toward Dallas and that warmer air again, kind of a storyline here. You see even warmer air towards South Florida. You see our surface-based Cape. That's what we have plotted on here right now with the background colors, the blues and the yellows. When we get to the yellows there, that's joules per kilogram over 1,000. So that kind of gives you guys an idea of what's going on with that energy. And then we'll pop up our tornado parameters. You see some of those, not as much to the north, but there's just enough there. It's 0.06 right now over the storm. Not enough for the color table to really pick up on it the way we have it set, but you get the idea here. We do have something in terms of some radar indicated rotation here, enough for a tornado warning in parts of Marion County. So it's 12:38 right now. We have some lightning here, occasional lightning, but the lightning isn't as prolific as it was earlier either. So that's definitely a sign of some decaying structure with this storm, it seems like, with this thunderstorm, with this potentially tornadic thunderstorm. At least at one point, maybe it was potentially tornadic here as we were looking, especially around the Weirsdale area. Earlier on, we were watching it down there. Definitely continuing to watch the situation here carefully, as you still see a little bit of broad spin in here, but we're about to see what the Weather Service does with this. I mean, it's actually been kind of moving out of the area for a little bit before it moves back in, because, I mean, that's parts of Lake and Volusia in there, and then it'll actually get back into Jacksonville jurisdiction and our covered area, where we get to Flagler County eventually. So even if this warning were to get extended, it may get extended for areas not in our viewing area, and then we would go off and then come back on here if it got back into our area. So a unique situation with this storm, especially being so slow moving. I have a lot of time to talk about it here on this Wednesday morning. So the warning goes for another 6 minutes. I suspect we're not going to get a new warning for that, but of course we'll have to continue to watch this scenario overall. As I look at some different things, the storm down toward areas there around Brevard County showing some rotation. May end up getting another tornado warning as we get out toward the Cape Canaveral area. Even there's a little bit of that spin showing up. Could just be not a line, but it's pretty close. And you probably see some blue in here. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's not going to be debris necessarily. That's going to be the inflow. We were seeing this with the storm earlier. Sometimes you can mistake that as tornado debris, but it's just the inflow here into the storm where you have things coming together with the storm being pretty intense overall here. So again, that's what we're watching, the ward areas there toward the Space Coast. But in our area, the reason we're on, in our covered area, tornado warning for parts of Marion County for another 5 minutes or so. As we continue to watch things, again, we'd like to stay on here when we have a tornado warning to give you guys the latest. As they're expiring the warning now, that's great news here, folks. But when there's a tornado warning, I mean, you're checking in, you're maybe turning me off for a few minutes, checking in for more updates because you want to be in that tornado safe spot. That's how these tornado warning situations work here generally. So sometimes it's important to kind of stay on here for the better part of the stream. Maybe not completely, got to catch our breath. It's just me here, but you get the idea. You see that span's not very tight right now. I haven't had any reports in. Granted, they could be delayed out here, especially at night, but you kind of see here how it's more just some rain shower action showing up at this point here in the Southeastern Marion. So that box there, that red box off the screen. So again, though, if we get another warning, another tornado warning within our 62 counties with the storm actually entering in or being within our covered area with that circulation, we'll be on the air here on all of our different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, like we are in these situations. And then obviously for thunderstorm warning, we'll play it by ear here. The long form coverage like we did Saturday morning, that's something we can do as well. Just stay on here and do updates. Not that type of situation. We don't have any tornado watch in play, but if we need to be back on it, could be a day where we have to watch here in the Weather Center. So stick with me here. Might have to be back on later today as we have some more storms coming into our region as we look ahead in the timeline. And before we go off here, I want to do two things at least here. And first, I want to go to our DR computer to show you guys one of our different modes that we have here that can definitely be helpful in this situation. And it's going to be a look here at that lightning tracker. You see quite a bit of lightning picking up toward Osceola County now. So Kissimmee, they're getting a pretty nasty thunderstorm around there toward the resorts. I know it's a spring break here for FSU, for instance, and other schools, obviously. And that's something where folks may be unfamiliar with that area and have to deal with. They obviously want to be inside and away from windows. If there's any thunder, even if you're not from this area, you might not understand. Obviously, in Florida, this is a very dangerous scenario where we're the lightning capital. So let me go ahead and zoom back out, though. Kind of see you guys some of that rain still around Stark and Bradford County. So this, you can actually see how we've had more of it try to roll back in here because of the unusual direction with this action going back and forth here. You can kind of see how things are trying to come back in. I hear the rain coming down around Stark here right now. So definitely interesting to see and hear for sure. So I'm going to take off some things right now, take off some of our different layers because I do want to see one of our forecast models. Since you guys are up late, you might want to know what's happening here later on this Wednesday. So let me go ahead and get this together. It's going to take just a second. We're doing this on the fly here, everybody, but I think this is helpful for you guys here to get an understanding of what's going on. So let me go ahead and show you guys some of the model data now. It's going to take a second to load, but we'll go ahead and pop this on up here. Here's our forecast model super. I'll zoom out even a little bit more. So we're doing some of that action in southern Georgia here at this point. But let's go ahead and get up to about 6Z. And you can see it's trying to show some of that action in northeast Florida. A little more robust, we'll see. But I'm not as concerned about that because the overall pattern wouldn't really suggest it to show up quite like that here. But then you see around sunrise, that's when we start to have some storms develop here. That could be worth noting. This is 13Z, so that gets us to 9 a.m. And then as we get toward 10 a.m., 11 a.m., you see storms in play. This is going to be about noon as we've switched times. So the Z time's a little different. 1 o'clock here, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So things, I know the word starts to be clearing out by 4 or 5 o'clock, but other areas still might have to watch. So could still have a situation where we have storms rotating even on later on this Wednesday. So that's kind of do it for now. Let me go ahead and get back to the Doppler radar. See those temperatures here. Let's put everything back on all of our different layers to make sure we're not missing anything. That's going to pretty much do it for the coverage for now. We'll keep you guys advised here of the situation as necessary here from the Weather Center. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. That tornado warning no longer in effect, but still, if you're in those southern areas, make sure you have a way to get alerts multiple ways, really, as you need to be able to wake up when there's severe weather potential around. And then another threat here on this Wednesday before a lull on Thursday. More storms on our Friday toward the west trying to enter in before they maybe weaken down. And then another threat next week, Wednesday or so. That could be a pretty potent threat here as well. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks so much for trusting me. I'll be back as necessary.